Welcome everyone to Lesson 2 on Communities. Today we're going to talk about culture and tradition. Culture is the shared traditions and customs of a particular community. Culture includes food, clothing, rituals, spiritual beliefs, language, and family structure. This culture influences who we are, just like our parents or our personalities do. Communities may be made up of just one or two cultural groups, but may have many more. And then what is tradition? Tradition are the beliefs, customs, and information passed down through generations, usually within a family unit. So that means that culture is what applies to the entire community, multiple families, multiple homes, and tradition are the things that are specific just to your family, things that are passed down from generation to generation, grandparents to parents to children, and so on. After we go over some examples of culture, you're going to scroll through the website and do a little brainstorming and utilize the interactive whiteboard. After that, you're going to go on to study and assessment where you'll go to Quizlet and follow the directions on that website. For now, we're going to take a look at some examples of culture. Okay, so looking at some examples of culture, right here we have clothing. We talked about previously how clothing is part of the shared traditions and customs of a community. So here we have Native Americans and some African tribesmen dressed in very culturally specific outfits. You can also think about clothing as possibly the uniform. If you think about our classroom as a community, one of our cultural clothing aspects is we all wear the same uniform. Another part of our culture is our food, the foods we eat. If you live in America, chances are one of your favorite foods is probably pizza. And if you are Asian, perhaps you participate in eating sushi or noodles and other delicious foods like you see in the pictures. Rituals and ceremonies are also part of our culture. Here are two examples. We have a boy having a bar mitzvah and a picture of folks at a baptism. Those are two different religions, two different rituals, ceremonies, very specific to each individual culture. Something else that influences our culture is our language. Here are just a few examples of what language might look like. We could be speaking Japanese, using Japanese language. Here are several different ways to say I love you. Those are just a few examples of language. And sign language is also a very important language for folks who are deaf. They are part of a cultural community that uses sign language. Now that we've talked about culture and tradition, I've showed you some examples. I want to tell you a few more examples of culture. They could be the language we speak at home, wearing a school uniform, which we've already talked about, saying please and thank you, or wearing your hair a certain way could be very specific to your culture. Now that we've explored culture and tradition, let's take a quick scroll through here and I will explain what to do next. Okay, so it's time to brainstorm. Think about your community and think about what your culture looks like. What about the classroom? Are we a community with a specific culture? We've already sort of talked about that. Think over these questions and go to the link below, the interactive whiteboard link right here. And you're going to put up 1, 2, or 3 sticky notes with examples of culture and what examples of culture you see in our classroom. So you're going to go ahead right here and you're going to click on interactive whiteboard. And that should bring you to our classroom whiteboard. Just give it a second to load. And here you have 2 sides. We're just kind of waiting for the words to come up. Okay. Okay, over here you have examples of culture on this side, and on this side, examples of culture in our classroom. Here are your sticky notes. You just click on it, drag it on over, and you can type right into that sticky note. So examples of culture, speaking French, perhaps. And perhaps an example of culture in our classroom would be wearing uniforms. Once your notes are up there, you are all set to go and I will be able to see it. Remember, you may see other people's notes on this board, and that's okay. Just fill in with your own. After that, you can come back to the main site, go to Study and Assessment, follow the link to the Quizlet vocabulary practice, and complete those activities there. I'll give you a quick view of what those look like. Study flashcards, write, spell, test, match. You can go through all of those. Your questions and words, your vocabulary is here, and you'll be able to go ahead through that. Okay, if you have any questions, you know where to find me. Have a great day.